All right, Rachel, this is your breaststroke. Again, it's just one of these things that there are things that I've looked at it. There are a lot of things that we can work on and fix. I know it's not necessarily your favorite stroke, but you can't give up the IM at your age. So we'll just take a look at this. If you look at this coming through your glide through the water, and I'm kind of picking on this because, to be honest with you, stuff like this is important. You've got to be tight back here. See how the body is just sort of loose back there? You can't really afford to be that way because it's just giving up time. The actual process of your pull down, I like that. It's nice and strong. Everything you want to be, like everything about this, kind of like what you want to be with your butterfly. So I know you know what you're doing, but that dolphin kick really needs to precede the pull down. Don't do the dolphin kick at the end. I know it's just, I mean, here's an example of the dolphin kick, and this is what that dolphin kick should look like. This dolphin kick should be the same. This should be the same as when you leave the wall, whether you're doing free, back, fly, doesn't matter. This type of kick should be the first initial kick that you do. Just a nice little body whip back to that original position. Real important that you develop that little body whip, that little snap, and you can see that he just goes back to his original. So if I just cut this out and sorry, you just run this back for you again, just notice that there's just no loss in velocity. Boom, just maintains velocity, and that's the essential component of that you need to have. So just kind of something to work on as far as going forward is concerned. Keep in mind that should be precede that pull down. So the actual breaststroke part of this. So this is the again the most important phase when the legs kind of finish the leg drive. You should be able to glide, even if it's for a fraction of a second. You should be able to glide, but it's really hard in terms of gliding right now, simply because of a couple of things. Number one, you're swimming uphill at this point in time. That's not working. There's too much drag. You really want your body just below the surface, be able to be just below the surface, head in line, crown of your head kind of leading the way in terms of the leading edge of the head, so the least amount of resistance, and that's ultimately where you want to be. I mean, you want to be in a position where you're cancel. Okay, I'm back. I've had to redo this hard drive so many times with what I've done. But anyway, this is the line we're looking at right here. If you get to that line, and if it's just fractionally between each stroke, it means a huge difference in time over time. And you can see that you're swimming uphill. You at least get, to some degree, have a level of a toe point back here, but this can get better. It's just little bits and pieces. But the main thing is here is that everything is down a little too deep. So why is that? And the main culprit, really, you see your hands in that sort of praying position, tends to take you down deeper. And the other real culprit here is that when you set up your leg, your leg drive or your leg impulse, you've got this angle here. And I didn't put a lot of emphasis on this angle in camp, but you really want an angle of 130 degrees or more. So your knees should be back in this area about here, which means it's a lot less drag, because right now what you're doing, and then your feet, basically everything would be up here and foot right here, and I can't really draw it the right way, but you know what I'm talking about. So these knees coming all the way down like this creates this drag force that basically stops you dead in the water and you sink. And when you sink, you change the position that your body is in the water, and that causes problems. So even though you're reaching upwards and outwards, and this arm action right here is decent, and I'm going to work on that in a second, the general idea of what you're doing is kind of hurt because of the fact that when you draw your knees up, you can see you'll just be sink. Just see your body sinking, and just basically stops dead and just plump and just sinks down below the surface of the water, and that causes this line, this angle. So number one, best way to fix this is to kick on your kick on your stomach with your hands by your side, and basically put your hands back in here. And the reason you put your hands back in here, so you can kind of make sure that your hips don't, again, make sure that these hips don't drop too deep. So you really want to put yourself in a position where you can kind of manage that side of it. And I actually drew hips that were kind of maybe too steep, so you really want something that looks like that with as far as your feet are concerned. And then if you got your hands back here on your hips, you can kind of make sure that they don't go too far. Put your snorkel on, feel the way it is, change the dynamic of how you set up your leg kick and leg impulse, and then kind of work with kind of finishing it, and make sure when you finish your kick you close and you snap your ankles together and you'll find that the legs will naturally raise. When you do that, when you snap your legs together that way, you'll find your hips will naturally come up and you will get up back to the surface. So let me just put this clip in here, because I think this will sort of kind of illustrate on what I'm talking about. So this is a skull, this is a rhythm skull to leg impulse. Again, see the surface level, and again, I'm going to back this up just a bit. Watch as he finishes his leg kick, and he drives and finishes his leg kick. See the hips come to the surface, and then the feet come back to the surface as well. So setting it up the right way, closing it out really strong, and maybe even a drill like that. Once you've got where you feel like your legs are at the right level, then you come back to doing it into an actual complete cycle where you actually do the I'm back to your freestyle, sorry. When you come sorry, I keep clicking on your old tape, and puts me in freestyle. So when you get back and sort that part of it out, I think isolate it in that drill I talked about, put it into a rhythm skull to kick impulse, and then eventually put it into the full stroke. Okay, this is a comparison between the 2 years, and again, just a reminder that the top video is the current one. You can really see how you're setting up you're just creating so much more drag. I mean, this stroke is way better than it was 2 years ago. I mean, you're much more accomplished, more professional about what you're doing. Way less drag moving through the water. Your legs are not nearly as deep, but they're still deep, and there's still work to do here. But you can kind of see there's some similarities. You can really see those knees are still doing the same thing. So that part of it hasn't improved nearly as much as it could or should, and it needs to be. It needs to be your next priority as far as improving yourself and going forward. So when you kind of get those knees sorted out and get your whole body on the same plane, so again, getting everything in this line, make sure the head is kind of eyes looking down at that point as opposed to sort of looking forward. I think this really works. So there's a ton of improvement. This stroke's probably improved the most of any of your strokes. Well, I haven't seen freestyle yet, but so far. So going back to, and I'll just throw it back up to where, just cut this out, get you back to normal. And again, you know what to improve, and you can work on it.